Hold on. Now, there's a specific reason why I'm playing this song for today's episode, and I will get into it because it's actually a really fascinating story, to be honest. But hey, this is Dylan Knows on a Sunday afternoon. Welcoming you all here to watching, either live, which nobody is right now, which is fine, or later on tape delay, if you want to call it that, whatever. It is Sunday. It is flash freeze day today into tomorrow, actually. Last week when I did the show, it was blizzard time, or not blizzard time, but heavy snowfall coming, which did. We got about 3 to 6 inches here up in the Reisterstown area. Actually, it was closer to 4 something, but it was in between that area. And now we are supposed to get a lot of snow yesterday, but we didn't. The storm shifted northward and actually put more snow in Pennsylvania. We got more rain, but the temperatures were at midnight around 45 degrees right now, and then they dropped and are starting to drop more and more. So right now, in Reisterstown, it is 32 degrees, so we're right at freezing point. So right now, the flash freezing should probably start right now. So any water that was left over from the rain or the melting snow is probably going to start turning to ice now. Going to turn tomorrow's tomorrow's rush hour traffic into a nightmare. Fortunately, tomorrow is a federal holiday. Martin Luther King's birthday is tomorrow, so schools are closed. Most offices will be closed. Well, federal offices are closed anyway due to that stupid shutdown. But they would have been closed if they were opened anyway, so it shouldn't be too bad. And there have been lots of warnings, governors saying you need to, not drive and stuff like that. So if you're here on the eastern seaboard, watch out. This flash freeze is not a joke, nothing to joke with. It may not seem like it's too bad right now. I mean, it's windy and it's sunny out, but temperature is dropping. And once it gets below freezing, any freestanding water will turn to ice. And then what's going to happen when the sun goes down and the night comes in and we drop the temperatures down to 9, 8, 7 degrees, it's going to be even worse. So don't take this lightly. Be safe on your travels tomorrow. So we'll see what happens. So today's episode, we're going to talk a little bit about Toto and the Africa song, why I played that. We'll talk a little bit about comic book deaths, which we've had recently. Well, actually, one comic book death, I should say, and one retirement. Talk some Pokemon Go. I haven't talked like that in a little bit. Got some food stuff coming through here. We have an interesting fact about state population. We have a lot of interesting stories about, believe it or not, porn and masturbation, which, if you know my show, shouldn't surprise you any. What else we got? Some good works from other comic book writers. An Island is for Sale. Smart diapers. Cooking steak in cars. Earth's magnetic poles are acting a little weird right now. Some trailer discussion. And if you love your, I forgot before I get to that, the super blood wolf moon eclipse, football playoffs. And finally, where was that right there? Robots are getting fired. And where was that last thing I wanted to talk about? Winemaking on Mars. And for those who love your TVs, Samsung has got a nice new one for you. So first up, let's look at, I wanted to do this because this is something I just picked up. This is Mountain Dew Game Fuel, which it teams up with AMP. I don't know if I should try this or not, but it has alertness, accuracy, and vitamins A and B, so maybe that'll help me with my sickness. But there is a tutorial on how to open it because you have to pull the tab up. Do not open it. The seal is broken, so pull the tab up. Where's this the tab? No, it's not the tab. This is the tab. It's not letting me open up the tab. What the hell? Oh, wait, there it is. Hold on. I had the wrong side. That's why. And then I just popped the tab. And then what does it have to do now? Slide back. Huh? Slide what back? Oh, slide that back. Oh, okay. And then there's a little spout right there. Berry blast sort of tastes like cotton candy. There's a little itty bitty hole in there. You can't really see. That's where I'm drinking from. Yeah, it tastes like cotton candy. So if you want to try Mountain Dew and Amps Game Fuel, that'll give you alertness, accuracy, vitamins A and B. It tastes like cotton candy. So, ooh, yummy. So now I'm all alert and accurate. Dylan knows who's accurate on this show. Let's get into it. I found this to be actually the most interesting story, and I'm going to start with it right now because of the reason why I played Toto's song Africa. Toto's song Africa is fantastic. It's a great song from the 1980s. Weird Al Yankovic and Weezer just did a version of it, and it's just one of those great iconic type of songs. When you hear it, you know exactly what it is, and it's such a great song. Somewhere in the Nambian Desert, which I am, knowing my geography, is in Africa. Somewhere in the Nambian Desert is an art installation that has, like, it was about 4 or 5 solar powered like DVD players or digital music players that are solar powered in the middle of the desert, playing Toto's Africa on constant repeat. So somewhere in the Nambian Desert, you have Toto's Africa playing 24/7, and it will never die because it's solar powered, and you're in the middle of the desert, and there's not a lot of people around, and the sun is out probably 90% of the time in the Nambian Desert. So kind of cool. And the only problem is who's really going to go see it. But still, I mean, it's a really neat idea, and I'm kind of glad that they're doing it. So congrats on that, Africa. This was the big story at the beginning of this week, and I figured I'd bring it up here at the beginning of the show also. There's a woman riding a cart while drinking wine from a Pringles cup was banned from a Texas Walmart. That made the wheels around social media, was a viral video, stuff like that, and just had to bring it up because it's something that we talk about on my show. That seems like something cool. They're in a motorized cart drinking wine from a Pringles can, and that's someone who really doesn't give an F anymore about anything. And congrats to her for being that way. Another thing that happened earlier in the week, Batten Lash, a comic book artist and considered to be one of the nicest guys in comic books, passed away. He did Supernatural Law, which was a independent comic, but Batten Lash has been around for a long time and influenced a bunch of current comic book artists and writers as well. So his passing is not as nearly as, rough as Stan Lee's, but still, for a lot of people, Batten Lash was their guy that they really, really liked and they emulated, and even he might have mentored them a little bit. But a lot of the comic book fans were saddened by that news. I know a little bit about Batten Lash, and I liked his name. And he did some other stuff besides the Supernatural Law comic, but I can't remember what they are. Sticking with the comic area, George Perez, for those who know comics, George Perez is one of the best comic book artists of recent times. Made his debuts like in the 1980s. I think he's in the 70s a little bit. He worked on the Avengers in the 1970s, but he really didn't come into his own until the 1980s, when in 1985, Marv Wolfman was tasked with cleaning up the DC universe because Marvel was kicking their butt all over the place, and the DC universe, having been around longer than Marvel had been, was just sort of floundering around a little bit. Their sales were dropping, and everybody was, going to Marvel, and they wanted to make some changes. And a lot of the reason why DC was the way it was is because they had so many alternate dimensions and alternate stories and different types of superheroes and all kinds of crazy stuff that happened with no rhyme or reason. People were just crossing dimensions willy-nilly whenever they felt like it. So DC said, we need to clean this up. And who's the best person to do this? Marv Wolfman. I want you to do it. So Marv says, I'm not going to do it without George Perez. So George Perez says, hell yeah, I'll do it. So he and George Perez produced, I should say, the 12-issue Crisis on Infinite Earths miniseries, which changed the DC universe forever and basically, for the most part, created the super event in comics. Basically, it reorganized the DC universe, cleaned out a bunch of these pocket universes and alternate universes, cleaned up the continuity a little bit, and able to make way for the 1986 debut of Man of Steel by John Byrne, who had been taken from Marvel to DC to revamp Superman. He did it with a 6-issue miniseries called Man of Steel, which came out of Crisis of Infinite Earths. Then he took over the writing and drawing the Superman comic. He also wrote and drew Action Comics, turning it into like a team-up book, which was really cool. And then Jerry Ordway, I wonder if Marv Wolfman also wrote that one. I forget who wrote Adventures of Superman, but I know Jerry Ordway was the artist on it. But it wasn't John. John didn't do Adventures of Superman. Someone else did. And that was the beginning of the Superman saga. Then at that same time, coming out of Crisis of Infinite Earths, Frank Miller created Batman Year One, which is considered to be a huge Batman story and basically is the origin for Batman for the most part. And he was only on it for 4 issues. And then he did Dark Knight Returns, which was a different take of the Dark Knight, but wasn't really in continuity. And then I think Jim Starlin took over writing Batman, and Detective was written by, I can't remember, Todd McFarlane did some art for it, but it eventually went to Alan Grant and Norm Brayfogle. And so that came out of that also. George Perez said he wanted to do Wonder Woman. So George Perez was tasked with writing and drawing the Wonder Woman comic to bring Wonder Woman into the new Crisis of Infinite Earths, and then the DC universe after Crisis. So George stayed on that book for a long time, and then he jumped around and did a bunch of other stuff. But he's also done lots of other books more recently, some more independent stuff. He is actually retiring. He sent a letter saying to the comic fans, is like, I am retiring on my own, because comic book writers, artists sometimes get forced out. They don't get work, and that's how they retire, because they don't get any work and nobody brings them back in. George Perez did it on his own, and you'll be missed, George. You were, but hey, enjoy your retirement. Retirement is not a bad word. Retirement is actually really good. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Supreme Court Justice, will have a Lego Movie 2 cameo role. That'll be coming up next month, I believe. So that's going to be something to look forward to. American cheese surplus is really high. Our American cheese surplus is almost wasteful at this point. We have so much American cheese and nobody is buying it, and it's sort of hanging around. So we need to clean that up a little bit and figure out what's going on with that. Excuse me. My cold is coming back and sitting on me a little bit. A woman sues a restaurant for $50,000, saying dangerous lasagna ruined her life. And you wonder why the law, a lot of people complain about lawyers and the law, because, and why people do certain things, because they're looking for the easy payday. People don't want to work for their money. They just want to get money handed to them, hence why lottery is so popular. Or, they don't want to work. And look, to be honest, I don't want to work. I want to have all the money in the world that I can, so I don't have to work, and I can buy everything that I want, and I can build up my own house. I can make my own business if I wanted to and not even worry about it. I can pay people to worry about my business for me and make money for me. I want to make my kids able to, have a good living when they get older. And I want to go into retirement feeling safe and secure, knowing that I'm not going to be poor. But I'm also a realist. I know that that's not going to happen. Lottery is very, very hard to win. The fact that somebody does win is what keeps it going and why people keep thinking, well, why not me the next time? But then you have these lawsuits. You figure, okay, you have a big company. I'm going to sue them for a lot of money. They can afford it, and I won't have to work ever again. But for dangerous lasagna, ruined your life. I don't get it. I don't understand it. And I hope you don't win your case. There was a movie that came out in 1989 called Back to the Future 2, which now, I guess 89 makes it 89, 99, 2030 years old this year. And in that movie, Marty McFly, played by Michael J. Fox, and Christopher Lloyd, who plays Dr. Emmett Brown, travel to the year 2015. Now, remember, this is 1989's version of 2015, and it's not exactly how it is now that we're 4 years removed from it. But finally, 4 years removed from 2015, we are actually going to be mass producing something that made its first appearance in that movie. And that is the self-lacing basketball shoe. Now, in the 1989 movie, Michael J. Fox puts on these shoes that lace automatically. And that was really cool. And everyone really wanted it, but it was just a prop that was created by Robert Zemeckis and his prop crew. Flash forward to 2015, and I don't think it was Nike. It might have been another company. It might have been Adidas. It could have been Nike. I don't know. But a shoe company did create self-lacing shoes, but they only sold them through auction. I think they only made like 2 pair or something like that. They gave one, I think, to Michael J. Fox. They put up for sale like 2 pair. And that was it. They didn't want to mass produce it because it was very expensive too. Well, now fast forward 4 years to 2019, and Nike now has self-lacing basketball shoes that you can control with your phone. So not quite the same as the way, I guess, you do it in the movies where Michael J. Fox stepped in it and automatically laced. I guess you step in it, and on your phone you click the app and it'll lace it for you. That seems kind of useless. But I guess if you want to have self-lacing basketball shoes and start working on it before you get to figure out how to have them self-lacing on the shoe, the telephone app is the best idea because, hey, everybody's got an app for that, which also brings up another app here, the Smart Diaper. And this just is a ridiculous name. But the Smart Diaper that alerts your phone when your baby's diaper needs to be changed. So basically, you get this diaper, you put the diaper on the baby, and there's a little sensor, I guess, on it. And you're on your phone or whatever, or you have your phone laying down or whatever, and you're playing with your baby, or you're just chilling or whatever, or they're sleeping or taking a nap or whatever. All of a sudden you hear a beep, 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 beep from your phone, and it says baby's diaper needs to be changed. Now, you don't know if that means pee or poop, but at least you know that your baby's diaper has to be changed. So you go upstairs and change it so that their bottom does not get irritated, which for those who have changed diapers before know that if you keep the dirty diaper on the baby a little too long, the butt gets a little sore, and the babies don't like that very much, and they cry. But the Smart Diaper is now going to take the place, I guess, of the smell test. Or, just watch your kids sometime. You know when the kid's going to do something. When they get that far off look in their eyes, they're like, you know exactly what's going to happen. So, yeah. Smart diapers. I mean, they got something for everything now that you control through your phone. So, you can control everything through your phone right now. 500 people were stricken with the nanovirus, forcing Royal Caribbean cruise ship to dock early. Now, this is a recent story. Now, I don't know if you all remember a few years back, it seemed like that was happening a lot on cruise ships in 1 year. Like 4 or 5 cruise ships were hit with a nanovirus. I'm not exactly sure what the nanovirus is, but I heard it's a stomach type of virus. And it leads me to believe that, well, why is it really only affecting cruise ships? Now, that's something that you're going to have to look into because, I mean, I haven't really heard of any nanoviruses really hitting and affecting anybody else anywhere else except on cruise ships. Um, so there's got to be something that science or the cruise ships can do to try to figure out, well, why is this happening? What is the case of this? Is it the way we store our food on the boat? Is it the sea air? Is it um, not cleaning rooms properly or dishes properly or whatever, because you are out on a cruise ship and you don't really have like pipes that can drain dirty water. You don't want to dump dirty water into the ocean, you know? There's something wrong with the septic system, you know, one of those things. So I don't know. So there's that. I went to the dentist on Friday, and it wasn't great. My dentist has lately been going through a number of different changes. They've gone through a number of different dental hygienists. The one I really, really liked retired because she was an older lady and she was really cool and really nice. And then they put 2 or 3 out there. And then my dentist was out on Friday. And apparently they are hiring a new dentist, like a partner of hers, to help her out. Maybe she's starting to get to the point where she might want to retire her dental practice and is going to pass it on to this other woman. So I went to my usual cleaning, my dentist's office, and look, I hate to floss. I really hate to floss, and it's the most annoying um, thing to do, really. But apparently, I haven't been flossing enough, and I'm causing major issues to my teeth, even though I'm really not feeling any pain or suffering from it. They're saying that I potentially could have gum disease, which, again, I haven't really felt any pain or any issue with. Maybe I don't. I don't know. So I don't know what's going on with that. They say you need to do a better job, blah, 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 of, you know, flossing and blah, blah, blah. So whatever. I don't know. But they just destroyed my teeth. I mean, they take the water pick and they shoot it in between it and causes lots of pain. And then they do the little pointy thing and they scrape that down there. Apparently I have tartar buildup over here. They discovered another cavity, so I have to get that filled back in February. So wonderful. And plus my front teeth is still broken and they haven't fixed it yet because I can't afford the cap because insurance isn't going to cover it. It's like a $10,000 surgery. So I mean, it'll cover a little bit, but not enough, you know. And I can use that money for a whole hell of other stuff because this house is really, really old. It's going to be 19 years old this year. So, but I bring all this up because stem cells, which I think I talked about last week, and I don't think I talked about this last week, but if I did, hey, you know, I'm sorry. Stem cells, no, last week I talked about how stem cells created a human heart. Well, this week, stem cells have created, can create new teeth for you, new dental implants, excuse me, I should say stem cell dental implants could grow new teeth in 2 months. So it's a new thing now. So, hey, you know, if you need new teeth or whatever, hey, just take the bad ones out, put the stem cells in there, grow those new teeth back, and they'll be strong as ever. So stem cells are kind of magic, aren't they? Seems like it. But there's something about it, though. I don't know. Hey, y'all, you know what's coming up soon? Valentine's Day. Yep, Valentine's Day. A lot of people think, it's just a Hallmark holiday, celebrate love, blah, blah, blah. But it's a big deal for some people. And I'm a holiday guy, so I like Valentine's Day stuff. So you've seen the Valentine's Day stuff in your local stores right now already set up. As soon as Christmas was over, that stuff got put in there. And then very soon you're going to start getting Easter stuff put in there and St. Patrick's Day stuff as well. So that'll be rolling in very shortly. But right now you have your Valentine's Day stuff. I have a pretty good idea what I'm going to do for Dawn for Valentine's Day. It should be a lot of fun. I hope she likes it. But for myself, if you want to get me something for Valentine's Day, how about the beef jerky bouquet or the Reese's Peanut Butter Cup bouquet, which are both new bouquets that were introduced this week. The beef jerky, you know, and the thing is, it's not really anything new. Dawn has gotten me these bouquet things before, which are made of candy bars. They get a flower pot, and they stick candy bars on like sticks, or tape them to sticks, and put them and arrange it in like a floral arrangement. So you have different colors, like you have, the orange of the Reese's, and the red of the Kit Kat bars, and the brown and blacks of the Hershey bars, and the white of the whatchamacallits and stuff like that. And you put all them together, and the reds of the Skittles, and the different colors of Skittles, stuff like that. And you put them in there, and then you add some little balloons and little cursory stuff like there, and you get yourself a cute little bouquet, which you can eat. It's like edible. It's like an edible bouquet, but instead of it being fruit, it's candy. Hence why I have dental issues, probably. Anyway, don't matter, because candy is good. And so they've created this new thing now. I mean, beef jerky. I like beef jerky. Call me crazy, but beef jerky is good. They have a beef jerky bouquet now, which is just a bunch of beef jerky wrapped up in like a floral bouquet. And then they have the Reese's Peanut Butter Cup one, which is all Reese's Peanut Butter Cup stuff in a bouquet, which I absolutely love as well. So hey, look for those for your loved ones. If they also want something else sweet, Oreo, which is going absolutely crazy with all their new stuff and their new flavors, they actually snuck in a new Oreo cookie that I didn't really know much about it until this week. It's called the Oreo Most Stuff. Now, I think they've had a similar one before, which is like quadruple stuff in between. So basically you get your 2 Oreo cookies, and then like all of this is cream. So the cookies are like this big, and it's all the sweet white cream. But a friend of mine on Facebook, she posted that she got them. She had the picture of the container and had one, get ready to eat. So those are available now at your local store. I guess I haven't seen it at my grocery store. I haven't been to my grocery store in a couple of days, but I didn't see it there. Maybe it's only at Target or Walmart right now. I'm not sure. I'm not sure where my friend got it. So that's something interesting to think about as well. Also, still looking for Peeps International Coffee Creamer. Still haven't found that yet. But Peeps are starting to make another comeback in another way. Peeps cereal is now a thing also, with different colored fruit, or different colored oat cluster things, and of course marshmallows, to give yourself a Peeps cereal part of this nutritious breakfast. If you can find the Peeps coffee creamer, you pour that in there, and then you got yourself a nice full Peep thing, and then put some Peeps on top. You got yourself a whole Peep thing. So good Peep show there. Over in Japan, Japan has the coolest stories also. Y'all know who Studio Ghibli is. They are an animation studio which rivals Walt Disney as being one of the best in the business. They've done a number of films, including Princess Mononoke. Now I can't remember all of them. Geez. Princess Mononoke, and My Neighbor Totoro, and Porco Rosso, and Nausicaa, and Spirited Away, and geez, I'm just going back right through here. The Witch one, geez, I like the Witch one also, and just a whole bunch of different really good animated type films. Some that have been nominated for Oscars and stuff like that, and have won a couple times as well. Howl's Moving Castle is another one. What is her name? Because it's the name of the witch. And they did the American dub had Phil Hartman as the cat who talked to her. Oh, geez, kill me. Anyway, regardless, Studio Ghibli is treated like gods over in Japan for obvious reasons, because their stories are so good, and it's like their Pixar, basically, except they're not done computer animated. It's drawn entirely by hand. But there is a Ghibli themed bakery which sells Totoro cream puffs. Which Totoro is a little like a magical being who's, kind of fat and looks like Snorlax from Pokemon Go. And they have cream puffs where you can grab one of your Totoros and pop it in your mouth, and you can eat the soft, creamy Totoro. It'll take me forever to drink this, man. Spout's too small. Doesn't go back any further, does it? Oh, it does. A little bit more. That might help a little bit. So there you go. That's pretty cool. So, hey, if you're over in Japan, check out the Studio Ghibli themed bakery and get yourself some Totoro cream puffs. Now it leads me to a big story I want to talk about. This is probably the biggest story I have because it takes place in Japan. I figured I'll switch it, switch gears and flip the page and talk about it on this side. Now, if y'all remember last week, I mentioned that there is a hotel in Japan that's run mostly by robots, including the front desk has robot velociraptors as your front desk people, help check in and stuff like that. Well, word came out this week that unfortunately half of the 243 robots that help run that hotel have been retired. Now, this is not an Onion story. This is not fake news. This is a real story. Apparently, much like, the line from Jurassic Park, you were so obsessed that you could, that you didn't think that you should. The Japanese thought it'd be kind of cool to see if you can have an totally automated hotel experience, which would help cut costs, I guess, and make it easier, cut down on the cost of hotel rooms, which is a good thing. I mean, let's face it, the reason why hotel rooms are so expensive is because you have to pay for the front desk staff, the cleaning staff, anything else as well. And, if there's food court, you have to pay for that as well. But with robots, you don't really have to, you don't pay them anything. You just have to hire some people to keep the upkeep on them, make sure that they don't go crazy and attack the clients, or that they don't break down in the middle of transactions. So you're going to still have people who, you're still going to need to have people, there to help, but it would help make me more efficient. But apparently they didn't do a good enough job on the first go round because, as I said, half of their staff had to be retired, including the Velociraptor front desk robots had to be retired because they could not photocopy a passport. Again, not fake news, not the Onion. This is real reason why, I guess you need to photocopy a passport to pay or something like that, and they just couldn't. Don't know why. They weren't programmed properly how to do it. They can't do it with their hands. I don't know. Also, every room had a room assistant robot, which was supposed to be like the Siri or any of those other Alexas that you say, hey, whatever the name of it is, can you tell me where there's a good restaurant, or what's the weather, or stuff like that. And it makes sense, but it was a robot. Instead of it being an Alexa, it was an actual robot in your room where you could ask them and they would help you with your thing. Well, the problem is your know-it-all robot doesn't know it all. So they had to replace those because they didn't know the answers to these questions. Again, probably a programming issue. You might want to start with maybe an Alexa or Siri or whatever to put it in your room to start off with, and then eventually put that into the robot to make them able to do that. Or hell, turn Alexa into an actual robot that will help you with anything you desire. Also, getting retired were robot luggage carriers, which again, in essence, makes a lot of sense. You have robots who, their claws go, and then they go. Well, apparently these robots could only reach 24 of the 100 rooms to deliver luggage. I don't know what that means, if they couldn't go upstairs or they didn't know how to get in the elevator or they didn't know how to get off the elevator. I don't know. But all I know is that 24 of the 100 rooms were not getting their luggage from the robot luggage people. So you remove those, you remove the assistants from every room, you remove the dinosaur, velociraptor, front desk people, and you still have some here helping out and like that. It's a good idea. I still like the idea of a robot hotel. It's just you have to make sure the programming works and it doesn't run amok, you know. So that's the big story of the day. Has the most lines, I should say. So kind of funny. Anyway, get back to page 1. I got a couple of studies. One study says going on vacation could help you live longer. Duh. That's all I have to say about that. I always tell people you need to take your vacation days. You know, even if you claim you don't have enough money to go on vacation or you don't have anybody to go on vacation with or whatever, just taking a day or 2 days or a week just away from work would help you lower your stress level down a little bit and help you relax a little bit more. Plus, you know, going on vacation, now not always going to be the case, but a lot of times also any stress from home life and stuff like that might also melt away a little bit as well, because you're in a different location and, you know, you don't have to worry about as much stuff. Like a good example is when we used to go to the Outer Banks. You know, when it's just the 4 of us, you know, the kids, not all the kids, but my son particularly, but a lot of people want a lot of attention and want us to play and do all this stuff. So we don't really get a chance to rest and relax. And, you know, when we, after they put them to bed, we come downstairs. We only got about an hour to 2 hours before we want to go to bed ourselves. So we just sort of relax. There's really nothing much you can do in that time frame. But when we go on vacation, we were going on vacation with my wife's family, and they had their cousins were there with them, so they could go off and play for hours, and we could rest in our rooms, read books. If we go down the beach, you know, as long as someone's watching, make sure they don't drown or something like that, you know, they can watch from sitting at the beach and just relax and chill out. And then once the kids go to bed, we can, you know, drink with the family and eat, play cards, gaming stuff, whatever. And it helps. It helps you, you know, reset, and, you know, helps you do things you've never done before. And a lot of stuff is, you know, done for you. Like, you know, you don't have to worry about, like if you stay in hotels, you don't have to worry about, you know, making the bed or cleaning the house or whatever. You got, you know, cleaners for that. And a lot of times you're going on trips and you really need things, seeing cool stuff. So you're not thinking about work or any of the other stress issues, like what's going to happen. Is my roof going to collapse? Is my water heater going to break down? You know, stuff like that. Do we have enough money to cover our mortgage? Stuff like that. You just want to get away from it all. And that's what a vacation does for you. So even if you don't have friends or family you go on vacation with, you need to take vacation just to clear your mind and just to get away from stuff and just rebuild yourself up a little bit. It's worth it. And that's kind of a duh study, because, you know, seriously, I mean, obviously going on vacation is going to help you do that. Another study says couples who make fun of each other have better relationships. Now, I find that to be another one that's kind of true also, because Dawn and I, we playfully chide each other, and it makes things exciting and fun and entertaining. And as long as you can take it and not get too bent out of shape about it, it's fine and it's fun. And it means that you have a good relationship, that you know that you're teasing each other, but you know deep down that it's just teasing and that you're not really mean the horrible things you're saying and stuff like that. So it's good on that. So these 2 studies, and that's all I really got for studies this week. Kind of duh, you know, makes sense. Scientists, again, is another one of the things where you were so excited that you could. Did you really think that maybe you shouldn't? Scientists have created programmable shape-shifting liquid metal, sort of similar to, and that's where the meme came from. It's a true thing, but the meme has a Terminator 2 reference to it because the liquid metal T 2000, um, which could turn into anything that it wanted to, and it was liquid metal. Now we actually have a programmable stuff that can actually, you can have metal turn liquid and move and create different forms and resolidify, which is a good thing for stuff, infrastructure and stuff like that. You can create things that might not exist and then solidify it in there. Like if you have a gap at some sort of bridge or something like that, and you don't have a good enough piece of concrete or whatever to get in there, you put some liquid metal in there, it can squeeze itself in there and fill up where it needs to, and then it can harden in there, and you got yourself a nice solid bridge out of that. So it's good, but you also got to consider, the T2000, the T2000 was a vicious killing machine made of liquid metal. Tonight is the today anyway, starting in about 2 hours from now, the championship NFL football games going on. The winners of tonight's games go on to the Super Bowl. So yes, people who are not fans of the sports ball, football will be over in 2 weeks. This is Championship Sunday. From the NFC, they play at 4 o'clock. We have the Los Angeles Rams taking on the New Orleans Saints inside the Dome in New Orleans. At that point, I could care less who wins that one. I would like to see Drew Brees get another chance to win another Super Bowl. He's having a pretty good year, but at the same time, I wouldn't mind seeing the high-flying Rams offense in the Super Bowl as well. And the AFC game is at night, 6:50, 7 o'clock-ish, between the New England Patriots and the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, I want the Kansas City Chiefs to win, obviously, because I hate the New England Patriots. So that's being played in Kansas City. Temperature is going to be chilly, not as chilly as people were expecting. They were earlier in the week, they were saying it was going to be like 4 or 5 degrees. It's now going to be up to like the 12 to 20 degree range. So it's still going to be chilly. But the reason why I bring that up today is because tonight something extraordinary is going to happen. Tonight is super blood wolf moon eclipse. It sounds like we have, I could have sworn we had one of these last year at this time also. But for those who don't know, every full moon every year has a specific name. Now, when you get the 2 full moons in 1 month, that's automatically a blue moon because they only expect 1 full moon every month, and blue moon says hence once in a blue moon. So they don't have a specific name for a second moon in 1 month. So they call it just a blue moon. But every moon, every full moon, every month of the year has a specific name depending upon when it comes out. Like there's the harvest moon, which we all know. And then there's the frost moon, I think, is one. And then there is the, I can't think of some of the summer ones. There's like the corn moon or like the cow moon or something like that. I'm not sure, but there are certain specific names for every full moon that comes out. January's is always the wolf moon, I guess, because the wolves are out looking for food during the winter and it's hard for them to find food. So they're out at night trying to catch nocturnal animals and they're howling at the moon and stuff like that. I don't know, but it's the wolf moon. But also so happens to fall upon a super moon, which basically is, I think that's dependent upon the magnitude of the moon, where its location is in the sky, because it rotates the Earth as well, and its magnitude changes. That's why you don't always have the same super moon every month. Though it seems like, I swear I could think the same thing happened last year. But a super moon just basically means when it rises in the sky tonight. I mean, literally when it's rising in the sky, which is, I think, down this part, it's going to be like a little bit after sundown, so like around 5:30-ish or whatever. The moon is going to look humongous because of where it's located in the sky and where it's located on the Earth, and its location coming up over Reisterstown or wherever, and it comes out as huge. I mean, it is. It's not like, Death Star huge, but it's bigger than your typical moon you expect to see. And then gradually, as it goes higher in the sky, it forms smaller, 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 and then before you know it, it becomes the size of the moon it is. Now, you have that on top of that. But you also have the first total lunar eclipse of the year is tonight as well, which total eclipse, usually they like to call it the blood moon because it turns the moon entirely red. I've actually seen total lunar eclipses before, and it's really quite a sight. So you have the blood moon eclipse tonight. So it is a total eclipse, and it is going to be viewable by the whole United States, which is also kind of unusual because there's a lot of times where certain areas are going to miss out on the totality. Some areas might only get a partial eclipse. We're getting the total shebang tonight. And so I brought the football games up because the Kansas City Stadium is outdoors at night. And by the time it reaches the eclipse time out in Kansas City, it'll actually be close to the end of the game. So the eclipse will be going on as the football game is finishing up. So fans who are at the stadium can look up at the moon if it's clear enough, and they will see the eclipse, and it'll appear as it's going to be darker in the sky. So I'm guaranteeing probably that the TV people will be going back to the moon multiple times during their coverage tonight of the game. As I said, it'll be probably closer. The totality is closer towards near the end of the game. It's like later tonight, like around 11, 10-ish. So they say it's going to fall upon that time frame. So we'll see. As we say here, the temperature is dropping considerably because here we are an hour later, and it's still 32 degrees. But by nightfall, by 6 p.m. it's going to be 22 degrees, by 7 p.m. 21, by 8, 19, by 9, 18, by 10, 16, by 11, 15, by 12 midnight it'll be 13 degrees. So it's going to be brutally cold, brutally windy, and then the temperature keeps going down. It's going to be 9 degrees when I wake up at 5 a.m. tomorrow. And it's going to go up slightly, but as I said, it's only going to go up to about 18 degrees tomorrow, and then it's going to shoot up to 31, which means there's still going to be, freezing on the ground, stuff like that. Then 44, 47, and then back down to 33 and 25, back to 31, 30, 33. So that's the temperatures in Reisterstown over the next 10 days. So it'll be brutally cold, but maybe I'll be able to see it from like my bathroom window or out one of the kids' bath windows, where depending upon where the moon is going to be when totality happens. So we'll see. But go out, if it's not going to be too bad, go out and check out the Super Blood Wolf Moon Eclipse. It is well worth it. What's next? This is something I just learned today. So you're going to learn a little knowledge. You need a little knowledge here at Dylanknows. The only states in the United States that have a bigger population, now states, not cities, only states that have a bigger population than Los Angeles County in California are Texas, Illinois, Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York, and Florida. Just those 6. Every other state in the United States, Alaska, Hawaii, Maryland, North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, Kansas, Nebraska, Arizona, Colorado, Oregon, Washington State, Idaho, Iowa, all these states, lower population than Los Angeles County. The state has less people in it than a county in California. Now, to be fair, LA County is massive. It could literally probably be its own state. It's that big. But regardless, it's just a county in California, and the population is bigger than 44 states. 44 states' populations are smaller than LA counties. 44. Only 6 are bigger. And as you expect, well, technically, I guess maybe 43 because California, whatever, regardless. 43 states then, sorry, because I wasn't counting California. So 43 states in the Union have a smaller population than LA County. LA County. I mean, I live in the biggest county in Maryland, Baltimore County, and ours would be a small little pebble in the LA County population. Speaking of my area, a 4.7 magnitude earthquake was reported off of the Ocean City coast earlier this week. Now, you're all thinking, Maryland gets earthquakes? Yeah, we do. Not as bad as, say, California or some in the Midwest, but we have fault lines as well. I remember a couple of instances. One was back when my parents were still together and I was younger. It's like 82 or something like that. And my sister and I were upstairs in our rooms doing our thing, either homework or reading or drawing or just hanging out in our rooms, whatever. Now, I don't remember, excuse me, that hemp stuff is getting to me now a little bit. Excuse me. I don't remember feeling anything. I might have. I don't remember it. But I remember my sister came to my room and said, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I'm not doing anything. I'm just sitting here." He's like, "Didn't you feel that?" And I was like, "Not really." It's coming from downstairs. Maybe mom and dad are wrestling or something. And I was like, "Okay, let's find out." So we go downstairs and there's mom and dad. They're on the sofa watching TV. And we're like, "Did you feel that?" And they're like, "I thought it was maybe you guys." So that was the first time I was aware that there was potential for earthquakes in Maryland. The only other one that I remember was a few years back when, like maybe 2011, 2012, maybe 2013, somewhere around there, because we had moved into the new warehouse that I work at now. No, I didn't. No, it was before then. It was 2011, I think. 2011 or 2010, because it was 2011, I think. We were still in the old warehouse. That's right. I forgot about that. We were in the old warehouse. My boss, Jack, was off that day, so I was in charge downstairs. And it was just kind of it was a normal day. It was a springish, actually I think it was fall, because there was a hurricane coming right after it. So it was like a fallish day, early fall, late summer type of day. And we had the door open to get some fresh air in there. And it was like 3 o'clock. So it was like late in the day, and we're just sort of all chilling and relaxing and not much is going on. So I'm sitting at my boss's desk, and my chair starts shaking. Now, I think it's my friend Josh who liked to play pranks on me. I thought, because I was focused on my work, I thought that I wasn't paying attention. He walked around the office and came behind me. I was like, "What, Dylan? What are you doing?" I thought there's one. So I was like, "What the hell are you?" And then I turned, there was nobody there. I was like, "What was that?" And then I also heard Josh was in the bathroom, and he opens doors like, "What the hell was that?" And we walk out, and the door that was pulled up started to shake again. And Gary, one of the guys I was working with, came out. I was like, "What the hell's going on?" Because his stuff was shaking too. So then John Mintz, who's co-owner of the company, comes down and says, "Everybody out of the building. We just had an earthquake. Just want to be sure that there's no structural damage." So we all got out of the offices and sat in our parking lot. And our parking lot was right by 28th Street. So cars were going down 28th Street, and they were stopped at a light there, and people were rolling down the window to say, "Hey, what's going on?" And I was like, "There's an earthquake," because we heard it on the radio. There was some earthquake, and then there was like a hurricane coming after it. Like there was a hurricane coming a few days later. So it was kind of a weird thing. So I think it was like 2010, 2011, but those are the only times that I remember earthquakes in Maryland. There have been some in Pennsylvania before, and I think there's been some down in Virginia that we might not have felt, but they're never as bad as the ones in California, because we are not as shallow or as deep as they are out there, and our fault lines are not as dangerous as theirs are. So it happens. So that was kind of interesting. All right, so I'm an hour in. Okay, so here we go. The New Mutants movie, which seems to be snake bit, there's lots of movies that are snake bit again, has been delayed again. And now there's talk that it might not even come out in movie theaters. It might just go straight to Hulu. I don't know what the reasoning for it is, because I thought the premise was neat. It was a different take on the superhero genre. And for those people who are getting a little superhero burnt out, a horror superhero movie might actually be a nice breath of fresh air. And I think it would make a lot of money. But apparently the makers of it have no faith in it. So, not sure. Don't know. Let's see, some sex stuff. Oh, the tequila shot that comes with a real scorpion you have to swallow. So you know about the worm in your tequila shots. Well, this time there's a restaurant, bar, whatever, that puts I don't think it's live, obviously, but they put a scorpion into your tequila shot, and you have to shoot the tequila shot with the scorpion in it. So, no thank you. I don't even like tequila that much anyway. There's a here. This is kind of some local news at a local seafood restaurant slash sales area, grocer type place here in Maryland. There was discovered a rare calico lobster was found at the seafood restaurants. I don't know if they caught it as part of their stuff, or if they were going to try to sell it, or if they even noticed that there was something different about it. But a calico lobster is not that deep red color that you're used to, or the blue color you see in lobster. It was kind of like a calico colored one. It's got multiple colors covering the shells. So kind of neat, a neat little story about that. There is a 20-mile long island. I'm not exactly sure where. It has to be somewhere down south, though, because that's where they are. A 20-mile long island that has thousands of penguins on it is now for sale. So you can own this island where the penguins hang out. It's not Antarctica. It's probably one of these African shore, because they do have penguins in South Africa and African shore. Something. I think they also have some in Australia as well. That aren't quite like the emperor penguins or the regular black and white penguins that we're used to seeing in Antarctica, because there are none up here in the Arctic or in the northern hemisphere. So this has got to be in the southern hemisphere, but hey, it's pretty cool if you have enough money to buy an island. It's 20 miles long and it's filled with penguins. I mean, I don't know what you would do it for. I don't think you'd want to try to turn it into a spa island or something, because you might not want to harm the environment of these penguins. So who knows? 1980s super band Huey Lewis and the News. I've talked about them a little bit a while back. They are having a Broadway show featuring their 1980s music coming out really soon. Well, they've just revealed that they are going to be prepping their first new album in 18 years. It might be interesting to see, because I think something's wrong with Huey Lewis's voice. So I don't know if he's just doing this as a last-ditch effort before he loses voice entirely, or something. I'll have to follow up on what that is also. But hey, if it's any good, it might be interesting to listen to. So there was one I wanted to cover. I can't think of it right now, so I might just say hell with it and just move on. Here's a good one. Sticking with kind of an animal type of theme. You can now name a cockroach after your ex for only £1.50, which is the English money. It's an English company, since it's done in pounds. So for 1.5 pounds, you can name a cockroach after your ex if you've had a bad breakup with your ex, or you totally hate them. Honestly, every once in a while, I think about my exes, but nothing ever really jumps in there. I'm not obsessed with them, as a lot of people seem to be for some reason. I don't know. I don't understand that, but hey, whatever. Bygones be bygones. Okay, so we'll move on to some other stuff on here before we get to the sex stuff. Kevin Smith, who, well, I kind of like Kevin's stuff. I don't like the fact that a lot of news companies go to him as if he's some sort of geeky superhero spokesperson for all the geeks and superhero fans out there. But regardless, there are stories posted all the time on social media about this is Kevin Smith's response to the Star Wars trailer or the Avengers trailer or, the death of Stan Lee, or, they just focus on him. And while, yes, I know he is a big geek guy, I know he owns a comic book store because I've talked to him on the phone when I worked at Diamond before. He called in a few times and I was able to talk to him. And, I got his, orders in and stuff like that. So I know he's a comic book guy and he has written comic books and he does direct, episodes of, the CW comic verse shows. But I just, well, as I said, as I like Kevin, I don't necessarily like him as the spokesperson for all geeks and superhero people. That being said, Kevin Smith thinks a Batman Beyond movie with Michael Keaton would make $1 billion. Now, in this case, I kind of agree with him. For those who don't know, back in the early 90s, there was an animated series called Batman the Animated Series, which is considered to be one of the, if not the best portrayal of Batman in any medium, the side of the comics, obviously. And it was. The animated series was fantastic that it spun off a Superman series. It spun off Justice League, which did just as well. And then they created Batman Beyond, which was a way to take the Batman mythos into the future and have a elderly Bruce Wayne mentoring a new Batman in the future, dealing with new stuff as well. So Batman Beyond has become a popular cartoon, and then it's become a popular comic in DC's comics. It's still being printed nowadays. Dan Jurgens is the guy who's been writing the book for years, but they've never decided to make a movie. But the most obvious choice, if they ever did make a movie, would be to have Michael Keaton to play this role, because Michael Keaton was Batman in 1989, which now, think about it now, 89, 99, 2009, is 30 years old this year. And I'll be probably talking a lot about that this summer when the 30th anniversary rolls around, because I really enjoyed that Batman movie a lot. And I enjoyed Michael Keaton's performance, and I like Michael Keaton. And I think that would be like the perfect way to celebrate the 30th anniversary. It wouldn't come out this year, obviously, but it could come out next year if they start making it this year. And you get Michael Keaton to come back, because he's gone on record. I've talked about it on this show a few times, as when he was doing press for the Spider-Man movie he was in a couple years ago. He kept saying he was Batman and stuff like that. He did a college speech. He was the graduation's guest speaker, and he said one more thing, I'm Batman, that type of thing, which drove everybody crazy. And I think he's the absolute right age now. He's graying, he's older, to play the mentor to a younger Batman. And even if you needed to, in the end, get him to come in for the finale or whatever, to roll out his new armored Batman type of thing and have him kick some butt, because we can do a lot of stuff now with special effects, and Batman would keep in good shape. So I think it would be a great idea. I think they really should do it, and you can start your own new franchise with that and not have to worry about keeping remaking Batman movies over and over and over again, because we got to do something else besides Batman movies. But Batman Beyond is not quite the same as another Batman movie, if you know what I'm saying. They have all new villains. You don't have to worry about any of these crappy old villain types, even though, again, they're bringing Joker in here and there. Just ignore that and just bring in other villains and stuff like that and make it more interesting, make it more futuristic and fun. I think that would be a really cool thing. So kudos to Kevin Smith on that. As I said, I'm still not your biggest fan about being a spokesman for us, but I like that you're a fan. I like that you do bring attention to this type of things, and I think that's a great. And I think it would make a lot of money. I really do. Don't discount nostalgia ever. Jurassic World is a perfect example. Not the greatest movie in the world, but it was the highest grossing movie of all time for a while there. speaking of comics, I will be doing a episode of the Comic Hall after this episode of Dylanknows, just because just haven't been feeling good, all kinds of weird stuff going on. I just haven't gotten the urge to do it, but I'll do it after I do this show. But Tom King, who is the writer of Batman presently, and also Heroes in Crisis, which is an examination of superheroes suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder after events that happened in other books, you know, these heroes, how they dealt with their situations. He also wrote the fantastic Mr. Miracle miniseries that just ended a couple months ago. He wrote a fantastic Vision miniseries for Marvel a couple years back as well, and did a really interesting take on the Omega Men. Now, Tom King used to be a member of the CIA, lives in DC presently still, and has become, after retiring from the CIA, has become a writer, has written some novels, I think, but has become a comic book writer because he's always been a comic fan. And he's actually one of the best comic book writers in my estimation. I think he's fantastic. He's also a regular at a local comic store in Maryland, down in Annapolis, which is our capital and where the Naval Academy is, called Third Eye Comics. I wonder if they're going to watch a movie. Doesn't matter to me because I'm down here doing this for another hour or so. Anyway, so Third Eye Comics is in Annapolis. It's a pretty big store, and it's pretty popular, and a lot of, you know, current writers and artists have shown up there. Tom King, though, is also the type of guy that since he lives in DC, he'll come up here as often as he wants. It's not that far away. He's also did the mini Baltimore comic convention that my store owner, Mark up here at College Comics and Collectibles, he does a mini spring one around Easter, and he does the one in September, which is the big Comic-Con. The one at Easter is one that's at the airport. It's a smaller version, but he still has creators there, and Tom King has been a guest at that one for the last 2 years. So he still shows up for that one also, but he likes to go to Third Eye Comics for signings, stuff like that. Well, he announced earlier this week, and I think this is fantastic, that due to the government shutdown, because he still has connections to the government. I mean, he lives in DC, and he's a freelance writer now, but he used to work for the CIA. So he's got friends probably still who are suffering during this shutdown, and he is not very happy about this shutdown either. But he decided he knows that there are people who are suffering, the federal workers not getting paychecks and stuff like that. But he says, you know, there's not much he can do to help that aspect of it. But one thing he can do is, if you want to take your mind off of your problems for a while, or you're a comic book fan, or you just need to escape for a while, he will give away hundreds of trades and comics that he has to you, government officials, for free. You just need to have a government approved license or ID or whatever, saying that you work for the federal government, and he will give you your choice of whatever you want for free. So he did that yesterday, Saturday, at Third Eye Comics. So kind of a cool thing to do. Yes, it's not entirely helping. You know, they're still, you know, not getting food, and they're not paying their rent and mortgages, and they're having a rough time and stuff like that. And this shutdown needs to stop like now. But we're not going to get into politics today. But I just want to say, I think he's at least trying to do something, and that's to give people an escape from their problems even for a minuscule amount of time, or fans of comics and trades that have not been able to buy their stuff that they wanted to because of this shutdown. You can have these for free. And I think they're comps and stuff. I don't think they're necessarily stuff that he does. And if it is some stuff that he does, I'm sure he probably signed it for him as well to give them a collectible also. Hell, maybe, you know, could sell that on eBay for a lot of money. He probably doesn't care what you do with it. He gave it to you for free because he wanted you to help you out as best he can. So good on that. That's a terrible story. I'm not going to follow it up after a nice story like that. I won't cover that terrible story. NASA may decide to land a drone on Titan, which I think is probably the absolute greatest thing they can do right now. Titan, to me, is probably up there with Europa, are the two most interesting places on the planet right now. Mars is great, but we've got a million pictures of Mars. We've got a million trips to Mars, and we've got more going to Mars. Now, what I would want to see is I want to see another try at the polar caps. The one try that happened, the satellite fell, went poof, and was destroyed. So you never got to see that. I like to see them try to send a rover down to one of the caps so you can see the ice and stuff like that. See something different than just the red canyons and stuff like that. I'd like to see that on Mars. But other than that, I've seen everything that we are allowed to see if there is more to Mars than we know. Venus would be interesting, but Venus is hard because the surface temperature is about as much as the sun is. So it would be really, really hard to land a rover on there and not have it get destroyed very shortly. Now, your Pluto would be another really good one, but that's way down the line because that would take years to get out there, and it would be really hard to control it since it's so far away. But that would be cool to see. Excuse me. But Europa and Titan are both within good grasps and are very intriguing. Io is intriguing as well with all the volcanoes, but again, probably too much surface temperature would destroy the rovers. But Titan, to me, is the most interesting object, even more interesting than Europa in the solar system right now, due to the fact that it is one of the only other bodies in our solar system that has liquid on it. It's not water, it's a chemical in its liquid form, but it has oceans and rivers and lakes and streams and islands, and it has rain. It rains gasoline. Literally, it's the chemicals that make up gasoline here on Earth rain on the surface of Titan. And we've seen these bodies of liquid, and I want to get a closer look at them. The only shot we had was when, I guess, Huygens landed or sent a satellite, took some pictures of the surface. It wasn't a rover. It just sort of like a boom, and then there's our last picture, boom, and then we blow up. We got a surface. It looks like Mars's surface, blah, blah, blah. Yes, most places are going to probably look like Mars's surface. Venus looks like Mars's surface, for God's sakes, because we do actually have some pictures of Venus's surface before the satellites and stuff got destroyed by the intense heat. But I want to see these lakes. I want to see these streams, and I want to see rain, gasoline rain. I want these lakes and streams, from what it appeared in cameras, appear to be black, but I'm just saying that could just be from the pictures. But I want to see these liquids. They have waves. They have shown pictures that of the orbiter that's around there right now has shown actual crests and waves from satellite shots from above. I want to see these things on Titan. That to me would be the most impressive thing to see. Now, Europa is interesting as well because supposedly has a frozen ocean underneath, and it would be cool that if something could drill down into the water and then that pops into the water, that would be cool too, because it'd be underwater on another planet. That would be cool as well. I'd like to see that as well. So those are the two big things I want to see. So NASA said they may decide to do it. None of this may stuff. Do it. Do it. Let me see if there's another space thing here. Earth's magnetic North Pole. It's either the wind or the cat. I just heard something weird. Anyway, Earth's magnetic North Pole seems to be moving erratically, and I don't know if that's going to lead to a pole shift coming up. Now, we've been making jokes about the end of the world and stuff like that, and pole shift seems to be a good, why isn't this working? Seems to be a good, not excuse, but a good way for an apocalyptic event to happen that could cause massive damage to our Earth. And the fact that the magnetic pole is acting erratically is they don't understand why, and it could in turn create issues down the line for us. So we shall see. China, as I told you last week, they're on the dark side of the moon now, and they've brought some plants and some other stuff to see if they could possibly maybe grow something on the moon. Earlier in the week, it was reported that some cotton um, plant stem type things were starting to pop out of the dirt that they had put the cotton in on the moon to see if they could grow something in that atmosphere. So like, oh look, it's actually growing something. Well, a few days later, those cotton things died. So it's still not going to happen where we're going to be able to grow stuff on the moon without it being in specialized greenhouses that keep the oxygen or whatever in there and keep them healthy. Let's see, anything else space related? Let's see. Nope. Oh yeah, here we go. The oldest winemaking country, which I guess would be France, I guess, because they've been around longer than the United States has. They have an intriguing idea, which I think is a really neat idea. And they have to figure it out because, as I just mentioned in the aforementioned China trying to grow stuff on the moon, some wineries in, I would assume, would be France, the oldest winemaking country, as they said in the headline. They want to try to create create wine on Mars, which means they want to plant grape vines on Mars and see what would happen mixed with the Martian soil and our soil, and if they can create grapes in this atmosphere, and then they can harvest those grapes and turn it into the first ever space wine. Again, a very intriguing idea. I just don't see it happening, just because even in The Martian, he had to have the greenhouse effect in order to grow his potatoes. Yes, he used Martian soil, but he still had to keep the greenhouse in effect with the oxygen and water to keep it help grow. He couldn't just say, I'm going to grow these out on the planet, on the surface of Mars, because it wouldn't work. And in the end, if you decide you're going to do that with wine, it honestly really wouldn't make a difference. You're using some Martian soil, and I guess maybe the soil has something to do with the content of the wine. And maybe if you do it similar to how he did it in The Martian, maybe you'll get a little bit of a different taste to it because of that. But it's an intriguing idea. Again, I don't think it's very feasible to do that. Scientists are also building a steam-powered spaceship, which I guess, I mean, would it make it easier to travel in if you just had to deal with steam and not like nuclear power or something like that? I'm not exactly sure. But for all you steampunk people who like that type of stuff, hey, there you go. That's up your alley as well. And I think that is, yes, that is it. I'm going to talk about two shitty people. Actually, maybe three shitty people, because this is kind of shitty also. Actually, I'll do a bunch of shitty people now. An angry Eagles fan. Now, again, not all Eagles fans are this way. They do kind of get a bad rap because there are instances where they threw snowballs at Santa Claus and they cheered when somebody's career was over after they got a career-ending injury during a game, and they destroyed their city when they won the Super Bowl last year, and they freak out on the players when they usually screw up. They didn't do it this year when Alshon Jeffrey dropped the one ball. They actually were very, very nice to him, which was kind of odd, and maybe it's the whole winning the Super Bowl, and now they're sort of, okay, maybe we can calm down a little bit. But not everybody is taking that into degree. This, in turn, has an angry Eagles fan assaulted his girlfriend and put his dog in the microwave after the Eagles lost. Now, I don't know if he ended up cooking the dog or if he was stopped before any of that happened. They didn't say in the article. But that in and of itself it's sports. And I talked about this, I think, last week or maybe I didn't, when the Chicago Bears kicker missed the field goal. But in reality, everybody was being mean and assholery to him. But in the meantime, what they failed to recognize was the Eagles actually blocked the field goal and caused it to go in that direction. If they wouldn't have put their hands on it, the Bears win that game. That was 2 weeks ago then. So yeah, because the Eagles lost this past weekend. So that's just disturbing that people like that exist. And unfortunately, I have a bunch of stories now I'm looking about this that is a whole lot of stories about this are getting ready to happen. And this world needs to get fixed. These attitudes, these people's behaviors need to be changed. And that brings up an interesting topic before I get to some of these other stories. And I was thinking about this in the shower today because we have this issue that's going viral today and yesterday about the punk ass kids from that Catholic school who face down and smirked while yelling and chanting, "Build the wall," to an elderly American Indian playing the drums at an indigenous person's parade that happened to coincide with the Parade for Life. These kids were there for the Parade for Life, which was an anti-abortion parade that went through Washington, D.C. yesterday. There was also an indigenous person's parade, and there was something else also, because what I heard is that these punk-ass kids, part of this pro-life parade, went and was starting to scream and yell at, I think, either black or Muslim people who had their own little parade going on also, or who were protesting, chanting, "Build the wall," and MAGA. They were wearing MAGA hats and stuff like that. And the indigenous people took their instruments to get between them and this thing. And they started playing their drums and stuff like that. And this punk ass kid was staring down this veteran of Vietnam, who happens to be an elder in the indigenous people's platform or whatever their government type thing is. And he was smirking and being a little bitch. And a few things come out of that. If you're a Catholic school, you're supposed to love everybody. That's what Jesus teaches you. If they're not teaching you that in a Catholic school, you really can't call yourself a Catholic school. The Old Testament is not the only book out there. The New Testament is part of the Bible also, and you need to take lessons from both. They might be opposites, but that's just the way it is. That's how the book is written. Second, chanting "Build the Wall" to an American Indian. Excuse me, someone is a stupid ass moron and doesn't realize, hey, the American Indians, actually, this is their country. We stupid immigrants from overseas came and forced our way onto their land and pushed them into reservations. In some ways, I kind of wish they would have fought back a little bit harder than they did, but I can understand maybe why they didn't, because maybe we wouldn't have the situations we have now. But it upsets me that this stuff is happening now, and the racism that's rampant now due to the administration that's in office right now, and all the people that him being the way he is and his people surrounding him are the exact same way. It gives these racists, emboldens them to make these statements and stuff like that. But what I was getting to was that and that's just a part of the bad stuff. I mean, this story just told you someone who assaulted their girlfriend and puts a dog in a microwave. Another one is a dude nearly kills a guitarist for playing a song he didn't like. Again, you don't like the song, you don't try to kill the guy, okay? A guy tells us, these are all stories I was going to go into, so I'm just going to sort of put them all together, and then I'll wrap this up with my point is that I learned about in the shower today. A guy tells his neighbor that he's going to kill him with kindness, and then attempted to kill him with a machete. Were you having some sort of dispute and you said, "I'm going to kill you with kindness, I'm going to be nice," and you're going to be so sick of it, and then you decide, "Nah, I'm tired of that, I'm going to try to kill you with a machete." I think, and then the other ones was a man was accused of raping an 11-year-old girl who got pregnant. And he claims that this girl got pregnant from his clothes, not from him. Again, complete and utter moron, a disgusting story, and that these disgusting people exist makes me want to vomit. But here's what my thought process was. My thought process was, let's make sure there's anything else, any other of these asshole stories. That's more of a sex story, and I'll get into that in a little bit. These assholes. There was a comic book that came out in the 1980s called Squadron Supreme. It was a 12-issue miniseries written by Mark Gruenwald, who's passed away, and is one of the best comic book 12-issue miniseries, social issue type of books you've ever seen. It was ahead of its time, and the basic premise got me thinking that where does the line go? And I'm also going to throw in a little bit of DC in there too, because they did a similar story. But Squadron Supreme did it first. Where is that line? In Squadron Supreme, it's an alternate reality with a team that's similar to the Justice League. So it's Marvel books, so they can't use them, but they have a character who's like Superman. They have a character who's like Wonder Woman. They have a character who's like the Flash. They have a character who's like Batman, and a few others of them as well. Green Lantern. You have one that's like Green Lantern and stuff like that. But they all have different names: Hyperion and Night Mask or something like, not Night Mask. He was in the universe, but regardless, you have this team that's a not really a parody, but it's their version of the Justice League on the Marvel Universe. Now, you think the Avengers would be like that, but no, the character archetypes are similar to those of the Justice League. So in this story, though, they were just used as alternate reality characters that came in, fought the Avengers a few times, and were good guys, and things happened, and blah, blah, blah. But Mark Gruenwald had a great idea. He wanted to explore a social issue that had been percolating in his head for a while. So he created this story where the Squadron Supreme had their own version of villains. They had their own rogues gallery. And in this world, you know, most times in comics, the story in comics is the hero battles the villain, and it might last an issue or 2 issues or whatever. The hero suffers some sort of loss or looks like he's getting beaten but comes back and ends up beating the villain, and the villain goes to jail. And then the villain breaks out 10 issues later for another story, another attack, you know, and that's how comics are. And that's fine. Yet that's just the way it is. You know the hero's eventually going to win in the end. Well, in this case, instead of it being a revolving door where the heroes beat the villains, they go to jail, they get out of jail, they attack the heroes beat them, they go back to jail. Instead of this revolving door thing that's happening, Mark Gruenwald decided he wanted to make a change and explore something that he couldn't do in the Marvel Universe. Behavior modification. Instead of sending the villains to jail, the heroes sent them to a top secret facility and changed their personality. They had this equipment that was able to change their personality and make them become good guys. Now, only the Squadron Supreme knew about this, and not even all the Squadron Supreme knew about it. A few of the team didn't, because they would be against this type of behavior modification. But the main heroes of the Squadron Supreme thought that this would be a good idea to make the Earth a better place. Why not? It makes sense, right? Instead of having the villains come, kill people, attack people, rape people, assault people, put dogs in microwaves, stare down elders, insult people, rob banks, hurt people, whatever. Instead of doing that, you put them into a machine that changes their behavior and turns them back, turns them good, gets rid of all the bad in their personality and turns them good, and they in turn become a helpful member of society. Makes sense, right? But Mark Gruenwald, being the writer he was, there are issues with that. you are basically taking away somebody's free will. Doesn't matter if you don't like the fact that they are evil, that they kill people, they rape people, assault people, which are all bad, by the way. And I'm not disputing that. But that's who the people are. And you can try to reform them any other way you can, but sometimes you just can't do it. So you take away their free will, change their behavior without their approval, and the rest is history. There were certain members of the Squadron Supreme that did not like that, and one in particular, who is the Batman archetype, decided that he was going to reveal it to the world because Squadron Supreme was trying to hide that fact, and was actually kind of surprised at the fact that the world was okay with it. Now, there were some people that weren't, and he wasn't in the end. In the end, he figured out a way to stop them, but it was him against his friends. And that's the gist of the story. And it got me to thinking, is that potentially something we should consider when we hear about all these awful stories? Or again, are we looking at the fact that, you know, they were raised poorly or they had bad judgment, whatever, it doesn't matter. That's still who they are. It's their free will. Not everybody's going to be good. Not everybody's going to be law-abiding. But do you think that that might solve a lot of our problems? And therein lies the rub. There's all these awful stories, and I try to back them up with some good stories. Now, I don't always talk about the good stories, but I try to post as many as I can on Facebook. So go to my Facebook page. You'll see some of them. I like to put a lot of stuff about animals and, you know, buddies. Like there's a rhino and a dog were raised, or a cat rather, were raised together and they're best friends. You know, that type of stuff is kind of nice. Or a couple that met during a hike when the guy saved the woman's life from falling off of a cliff, and then the two of them got their connection, and then he proposed like a year later at the same spot where they had met. You know, good stories like that. Or stories about young men who are not MAGA-wearing hat racists, who actually help the elderly or help other people. They take all of their allowance and give it to a food bank or give it to the poor, or try to come up with a way to help the poor, whatever. These kids are the real deal. And then you have these privileged assholes that feel that they're privileged and that this is ruining America, hence the situation we're in right now. But that's where the rub is again. Would kidnapping these kids or these racists or these killers and changing their personality so they would become good members of society, would that be an ethical decision? Because you'd be getting rid of evil by taking away free will. It's a question that you can't answer. People will have their own debates about it, their own decisions about it. I recommend you check out the Squadron Supreme trade paperback if you can find it. 12-issue miniseries written by Mark Grunwald. I might want to reread it. I have it on my my shelf back there. But it got me thinking, is that something we should start to consider? Or is that just unethical? Because I'm looking at it from a point where I try to be a good person, try to be a nice person, try to do good, try to, you know, do what I can. Try to be nice. So I wouldn't need, in my mind, I wouldn't need behavior modification because I'm one of the good guys. But again, you start thinking, free will taken away. Just something for you to think about. We're going to go from that to some sex stuff. Yeah. You gotta sort of cleanse the palate a little bit. I guess there's a show called Extreme Love, and I just lost my last viewer from that. I don't want to hear about sex, or that's a stupid idea and I'm going to leave. So whatever, it's fine. Extreme Loves I guess it's a TV show that's on TLC or something like that. They were following a character called the adult baby Jess, who I guess was a woman who um, likes to act like a baby, dress in baby clothes and have a diaper and suck thumbs and drink milk from a bottle and stuff like that and just act like a baby in general. Well, apparently her daddy um, broke up with her, but don't fear, she found a brand new daddy. So I'd bring that there. Man, I really hope I didn't offend whoever left by saying that I'm not unethical. I was just making a statement. I'm not, if you know me, I'm not egotistical. Oh, she's watching Real Genius. Without me? Grr, I'm mad now. I was going to wait for her so we can watch it all together. That's fine. Whatever. I'm here to talk about sex. Speaking of Washington, Pornhub has announced that porn watching has shot up in DC after the government shut down. I guess people who, need a way to get out their stress have been watching porn. And today's word is masturbation, because I have 2 masturbation stories I'm going to tell you about right now. So I guess it's sort of, it helps relieve tension, as it does. Masturbation does, and sex does, and stuff like that. So voila, you have that. But a sex ed educator suggested that masturbation should be taught to children 8 years of age and older in school, right? Now, in school might not be a great place to teach it, as long as you're not saying, okay, everyone drop your pants. This is how you do it. You grasp your shaft and you do this, or you use your finger and do that. If you do it as sort of a sex education thing where you draw pictures and diagrams, again, you don't want to show them porn or anything like that. But again, 8th grade, 8-year-olds, I don't know if I want to show my 8-year-old how to masturbate, and I'm not sure if I agree with that. But it is out there for sex educators that you need to start teaching kids stuff like this. And on top of that, masturbation at work is okay, according to another study, because it's a great way to relieve stress. Now, again, that's something I don't know that you really want to do in at your workplace, is masturbating in your workplace. Even in the bathroom, because you share a bathroom, or you don't want to do it at your office, your desk, because people can still see you. It's still kind of hinky. And masturbation is more something along the lines you should do in a private way. So I think that's it for my sex stuff. Yeah, that's it. Mostly about masturbation, obviously, this week. A Popeyes manager was arrested for allegedly dipping chicken into cocaine to increase business. I guess it becomes addictive, chicken, particularly when cocaine flour, so you mix cocaine with flour and you fry it, and they bite into it and they get that cocaine high along with the flour high. I really hope I didn't insult whoever was watching that. No comments about who it was. Hopefully maybe they had something to do with 3 o'clock, maybe. The Critics' Choice Awards came out this week, and both Black Panther and Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse were big winners. Tuesday, we're going to find out if the Academy is looking at these potential award winners for their Academy Awards, because the nominations are going to come out on Tuesday. So we shall see, and so I will discuss the nominations on next week's episode of Dylanknows and find out if the Academy decided, hey, that's good, or hey, why didn't they nominate this? A waiter was angered to find out that his $20 tip was actually a Bible verse. So the waiter does their job. Here's the thing you need to know about waiters: they get paid a very small wage, and they live on their tips. And so the way that this person had it was it folded up and it looked like a $20 bill that they slipped into on their table. And the guy got up and left that thing there. So the waiter comes over, like, okay, cool, $20, picks it up, and then unfolds it and realizes, wait a second, this isn't $20. Flips it over, it is a Bible verse. This person who sat at that table did not give a financial tip to a waiter, instead gave a spiritual tip to them, which in and of itself is still bad because we still have freedom of religion in our country. And you don't know what religion the waiter is. And there's no reason to push your religion on anybody else. That's a pet peeve of mine, that when people try to push their religion on other people, just don't. This is a country was founded on freedom of religion. So that galls me. I've never been a waiter, but I know how hard it is for them to make money. And the fact that someone they waited on gave them absolutely no tip. Denver is getting a giant Lego themed pop-up bar this summer. I talked about pop-up bars and restaurants, stuff like that. Well, I guess due to the Lego Movie 2 coming out next month, and Lego is fairly popular, that a Lego bar wasn't that far away, and Denver's going to be getting it. So this summer we'll find out. So head out this summer to Denver and find out what it's all about. Netflix is rebooting Unsolved Mysteries with the one of the executive producers of Stranger Things, Sean Levy, who is also Eugene Levy's son. So Unsolved Mysteries was one of the shows I used to watch religiously. It was fascinating because they would talk about unsolved crimes. They would talk about the supernatural. And you had Robert Stack's monotone voice, who was perfectly narrating it. And you had the, what do you call them? The reenactments of the crimes, and tried to see if you could get any new cases, like any new information on the case. They always gave tip lines and stuff like that about if you saw anything or heard anything, you know, for a lot of these crime cases, they would do that in the end. So that could be interesting to see. But again, you know, on Netflix, and it's sort of, you know, you got to do it kind of in a weekly basis to keep things up to date and current. After drinking my cotton candy, my stomach hurts. So maybe it wasn't such a good idea after all. Moving on. Oh yeah, I missed this thing on the sex thing because it wasn't really enjoyable sex thing. This is about the abuse of animals and sex again, which I haven't had a story about that in a while, but here we are again. A Saudi man was sentenced to 1,000 lashes for performing oral sex on a camel. Now, I know a lot of that sounds like a racist joke, but it's a true story. And that's just disgusting. The fact that recently, in the last few months, all these animal sex stories have started cropping up all over the place. On the flip side, downtown Disney will be getting a brewery for the first time ever. So, hey, you know, Disney, you know, always thought to be a place for children and families, whatever. Well, they also know that it has a good nightlife as well. And they need to get adults to have as much a good time as kids do. But they need to have some grown-up fun as well. So, hey, let's open up a brewery, drink some Disney brew. Heck, you could have like a Goofy beer and Mickey beer and stuff like Donald beer, stuff like that. So that'd be kind of cool. Human bodies won't be buried or cremated in the future. They will be dissolved, which is a new theory by scientists, thinking that that could be something that's coming up down the line. Interesting. Anne Hathaway has been cast as the Grand High Witch in Robert Zemeckis' remake of Roald Dahl's story, The Witches. Angelica Houston was fantastic in the original version that came out in the early 90s, which I really, really enjoyed. I don't know why they're remaking it, but the fact is I like this idea of a remake more so than others because of who's involved. Robert Zemeckis is one of my favorite directors, and now they got Anne Hathaway to play the Grand High Witch. Should be interesting. A dog who was, I guess, hanging out at a college, high school track or whatever during a track meet or whatever, got so excited and happy when a race started that the dog started running with the athletes in this race and ended up beating everybody. So that's a fun little animal story to go through. 2019's new trend is young women rocking their natural gray hair. This is kind of close to me because Dawn's hair went gray really early on. Um, and it's fine because I love her regardless. And it looks interesting. It looks good sometimes. She likes to dye it every once in a while, brownish, blonde, whatever. And I like that also. But apparently the new trend now is that, hey, gray is good. And hey, let's show off our gray. And hey, I'm all for that. That's absolutely fine. Presently, due to the wonders of the way the Earth is, it is winter up here in the northern hemisphere, as talked about earlier with this freeze, the flash freeze coming up, which reminds me it's 3 o'clock. Let's check the temperature. I've checked it every hour so far. It's still 32 degrees right now. So still hanging around. Oh, actually, no, they've changed it to 30 degrees now. So it's now below freezing. So the sun will be setting in about 2 hours. So, hey, it's going to get even worse very soon. But what was I talking about here? Oh, the weather. Oh, so in the southern hemisphere, where Australia and parts of Africa and Antarctica are, it's summer. So it's hot and summery down there, and so far. So a guy, an Australian, decided he wanted to do a test. So he bought some steak, raw steak, you get at the grocery store, whatever, or he made it himself. Maybe he owns a ranch or something and cut up a steak, and he put it in a metal container and put it in his car with the windows closed and all that stuff without any blocking of the sun, whatever, and parked it outside in the middle of the hot summer while he went to work or grocery store or whatever and did a few things or went to the house for a while. He came back a few hours later and discovered the steak was well done, meaning that the steak cooked inside a car that was under the sun, the hot sun in Australian summer, which is a means to tell you all, don't leave people or animals in hot cars without air or anything like that, because it gets extraordinarily hot and it could kill said child or animal. I better hurry up because I really gotta go to the bathroom now. Gotta hold on to it though. Disney Plus is a big thing right now. I've been talking about all the new movies that are coming out, or new TV shows that keep getting announced. They're even doing Star Wars ones as well. A new show has been announced with the merger of Fox and Disney. They get the X-Men back, and there's an X-Men TV series that will be apparently created for the Disney Plus to go along with the other shows that are being created for the streaming service that Disney owns. But what makes that interesting, and along with the fact that all these other, they've announced so far like 5 or 6 of them already. Vision, Scarlet Witch, Young Loki, Nick Fury, Falcon, and Winter Soldier, and they're having the actors in some form or another portray these characters. I mean, like with Young Loki, Hiddleston's not being the main character; he's going to narrate it. But Vision and Scarlet Witch will be played by the actors who play them. Flash or Falcon and Winter Soldier will be played by the actors who play them. Nick Fury will be played by Samuel L. Jackson, so on and so forth. So this X-Men one is a new series from Disney. But what makes it interesting is that Disney has announced that their shows, and I guess this includes their Star Wars ones also, like The Mandalorian and any other Star Wars ones that pop up, will have $100 million budgets. Which I guess when you're Disney, you can afford that because you can afford to recoup it with ad revenue or subscriptions or whatever. But the fact is, if you can get a TV show, a series, and have a budget of $100 million, it's going to be a game changer. And that just more and more makes me want to maybe fork out the money to get the Disney streaming service when it gets announced when it's going to come out. So we'll see. Cyclists filming a documentary about cycling were run over by a distracted driver. Wasn't done intentionally, but still, when you're out driving, look out for your fellow bikers, your fellow man biking. They don't always have bike paths, and they have every right to be on the road as you do. And don't be dicks about it. Don't honk at them. Don't speed by them or whatever. Pass them on the left safely, and don't bother them, and they won't bother you. So, and stop being distracted too. Stop looking at your damn phone or whatever, talking on your phone or doing whatever. Pay attention to the road. That was the public service announcement. The word whom is disappearing in language and in books and stuff like that. So whom is going to be going away. And who's ever really heard of a word that's getting retired or disappearing? It's kind of odd, isn't it? It's quite odd, isn't it? Yes. I'm almost done because I have to really go to the bathroom, so I'm just going to breeze through these. There is going to be no Check I Day today because for whatever reason their website was down and they didn't announce. At least I don't think they have unless they posted it recently. Let's find out because they didn't have it before the show. So they had the 21st. Yep, they don't have the 20th. So I'm not even going to go there because I do have to go to the bathroom. And there you go. Jerry's schooling a Trumpy. So there you go. So what else do we have here? Disney, on the other hand, is continuing their horrible trend of remaking their animated musicals into live action. This year alone, we will be getting Dumbo, which I want to see because Tim Burton's directing it and Michael Keaton is in it and Danny DeVito and Colin Farrell. And I saw the first trailer for it and I kind of liked it. I know it sounds against what I'm about ready to say, but I'm interested in seeing that. They had the first preview of The Lion King live action, which is going to be coming out in May or June for the summer. They had the first trailer for Aladdin, the live action version of Aladdin with Will Smith in it was also revealed as well. And I think Mulan might be out this year as well. Don't quote me on that one. But it's the newest trend because Beauty and the Beast made money and Alice in Wonderland made money. And what's another one that they just did as well? A Jungle Book made money as well. So it's a trend now that live action, let's make animated films into live action. So of course, Disney is starting to look into that. They're looking into a Little Mermaid live action one, which one day I'm going to go off on The Little Mermaid because I hate that cartoon for a couple of reasons. They did Beauty and the Beast already. They did Lion King now. They haven't done a Hercules one yet. They haven't done. There's talk about a Lilo and Stitch live action movie coming out soon too. But now, one of the lesser known Disney musicals during that 1990s run, which I actually kind of enjoyed because it was a little bit different than your typical Beauty and the Beasts and Lion King stuff like that. The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Now, yes, it is an animated version of the book by Hugo, but they had the happy ending, and it is a musical. You had Kevin Kline and Demi Moore as the voices, and Tom Hulce was the voice of the Hunchback, and you had the gargoyle buddies and stuff like that. And it was a darker version of a Disney song because you kept a Disney movie because it kept some of the dark story in there, but in the end, it also made the Hunchback have a happier ending as well, which is, I guess, good. Well, they just announced there's going to be a live action version of The Hunchback of Notre Dame now, using the same musical music and stuff like that, songs and stuff like that. So we'll see. TLC is going to air the wedding of the identical twins who are marrying identical twins. That's just weird, but hey, go for it, man. That's just really weird. The Just Dance movie is in the works, the video game Just Dance, where it's just, they show dance moves in a song. They play a song and they show the dance moves, and you just have to imitate them. So like that, they're making a movie about that. Why? You have the the dance movies out there already. Just make a dance movie. You don't have to call it Just Dance based on the video game. Just make a dance movie. Carol Channing passed away this week as well. Broadway, My Fair Lady, I think, was the big one she was involved with. And finally, we also had 2 trailers. We had the Spider-Man Far From Home trailer, the first look at the new Spider-Man movie that will be coming out after Avengers Endgame, which had a lot of people thinking, is this set after Endgame? So obviously Spider-Man comes back, and what happens? There's not any mention of what happened. Is there a theory that maybe they change it so that nothing ever happens? We won't know until we see Endgame in April, but this movie is coming out in July, and it's Tom Holland back as Spider-Man, and he goes overseas. You get a little bit more of sexy Aunt May coming in there. She pops up. Happy Hogan, played by Jon Favreau, is in it a bit more also. And, it's more of he goes overseas with his friends, and there's a little bit of Zendaya thing there, and you get more with Ned and stuff like that, and Flash is in there as well. And then you meet the villains. It looks like Sandman and Hydra Man are going to be in there, but the main villain is Mysterio, played by Jake Gyllenhaal, who in this trailer appears to be looking like he's going to be a good guy, but I think it's just a scam to make, to trick people. Plus, you get a little bit of Nick Fury action because Samuel Jackson's Nick Fury will be in it as well. So you get a little bit more of that as well. So it's a fun trailer. It shows the humor and the stuff, the typical stuff you expect from a Spider-Man movie, some more different costumes, and more questions and answers about what's going to happen in Endgame. Also announced this week, Jason Reitman, the son of Ivan Reitman, director who's directed has directed a bunch of movies before. But Ivan Reitman, one of his biggest films that he ever directed was Ghostbusters, and he did Ghostbusters too, but most people think about Ghostbusters. Jason Reitman, the son of Ivan Reitman, has announced this week that he'll be directing Ghostbusters 3, which will be reuniting the surviving cast because Harold Ramis passed away a few years ago. Supposedly Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, and Ernie Hudson have all signed on to be in this film, and no word if Rick Moranis or Annie Potts or even William Atherton are going to be signing on as well. But as of now, that's the rumor from Jason Reitman. It has going to have nothing to do with the female reboot, which I think was not as bad as a lot of people think it was. But they announced it's like, okay, that's all. That's kind of neat that they're going to be talking about that. And then literally about an hour or 2 hours after Jason Reitman made that announcement, on YouTube, they released a teaser trailer for Ghostbusters 3. It has the Ghostbusters music playing in a creepy wooded area, in a creepy barn, and you hear some car noises like trying to start, and then you hear some of the proton packs turning on and shooting stuff, and you see electrical light, and the music keeps changing to all the Ghostbusters themes from Elmer Bernstein, and it's coming into this barn, and you see flashing light, and you hear all the proton stuff and stuff like that. And then you go into the barn, and there's a tarp over something. The tarp gets pulled up, and it shows the Ecto-1, and it says Ghostbusters 3 coming in 2020, summer 2020. So they've made a teaser trailer for this movie, which means that they better damn well make this movie because they've already released a trailer for it. So to be continued, I guess. Finally, the final story of the day, before we get into some of the anniversary stuff and then I get out of here to do my Comic Call show. Samsung is releasing a 219-inch TV called The Wall. It will literally fill up the whole wall in your house, and it's one big giant TV. So fans who want to get the next big thing, a 219-inch TV is now available for your perusal. As I said, no check eye day, even with stuff for tomorrow. I'm just going to, because I got to go to the bathroom and I got to move on. And it's getting late. Anniversaries this week. Both of these things are 45 years old. Happy Days came out in 1974, 45 years ago. And The $6 Million Man came out 45 years ago as well this week. Um, Shirt Tales, that great cartoon I used to watch. I had a stuffed monkey. I forget what his name was. I think Bogey. The cartoon came out in 1982. The Heathcliff cartoon, which is one of my favorites, came out in 1984. Cloverfield came out this week in 2008, which is not a bad movie, but it's interesting. It was more the anticipation of it was the bigger story about that. Half Baked came out 21 years ago, a great stoner movie. And You Can't Touch This, a song by, forget his name. Anyway, it came out this week as well, 29 years ago. So that's it for Dylan Knows. Again, go out, look for the super blood wolf moon eclipse tonight. Go watch football if you want to see who's going to be in the Super Bowl. And be careful out there. The temperatures dropping, particularly if you're in the eastern seaboard. Temperatures dropping. Flash freezes are out there. Be careful. And have a pleasant day. We'll see you all next week.